Welcome to the Soul Deep Podcast with Jessica Janty. Join me as we dive deep into raw, real, in-depth conversations about life, love, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, what it is we're really here for, and anything in between. I want this to feel like a safe space for anyone on a spiritual journey, trying to find answers in your truth by having open heart and open-minded conversations. And my hope for you as a listener is that you feel this is a safe space here, a place to hear things from a different perspective that may challenge you and your thinking in the best way possible, allowing you to give grace to how you've been raised or what you've been taught or told to believe. And perhaps you find your truth as I search for mine on this journey we call life. So grab your favorite drink, cozy on up to your couch or wherever you listen from, and join me for these soul deep conversations. Welcome back to the Soul Deep Podcast with Jessica Janty. And today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Karen Arms, and I have actually known Karen, and I don't know if you remember this, Karen, but it has been almost 20 years or about 20 years because we actually got married at the Gardens.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I didn't remember
Yes.
that. Oh
Yes.
my
And
goodness.
so it's funny how it's like this full circle kind of thing.
Wow.
Yes, because we had gone out to, and I think we met you guys and you gave us like a little tour of the outside space and the inside space. And this was back in '04 we got married. So you had little kids all running around everywhere, and I was so surprised at how many kids you had. And it was just, you had like a little, I think you had like a little cafe or restaurant in there as well. And I didn't know anything about like whole foods or nutrition or anything like that because I come from the very Western medicine side. And so I don't think I ever did anything. I don't think I ever got anything from there. But as my story evolves, and we'll talk about that through this episode. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that back to you because it's been, gosh, it'll almost be 20 years. So it's crazy. So before we go in too far, I'd really love to just drop into some breath, just ground our energy in here. So if you are a listener and you are watching this or listening to this and you are driving, do not close down your eyes. But if you are someone that you're in a place where you can, it's really helpful to close down your eyes when you do this breath. And we're just going to do some breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth. So whenever you're ready, closing down your eyes or just softening your gaze. And we're going to take breaths in through our nose and then out through our mouth. And just continuing this cycle of breath at your own pace, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And doing this breath really helps us ground into the present moment, letting go of anything, any to-do lists, anything that you need to do later today or anything that happened earlier, but just being really present in this moment. We can use our breath for the power of the pause to deepen our relationship with our body, to listen to our body's wisdom. I think we so often forget just to take a simple pause, even for a minute, just to breathe. It's really, really nourishing for our body, for our cells, for our nervous system. So just a couple more breaths here, in through the nose and out through the mouth. We're going to do a big collective inhale here. So on your next inhale, breathe it in. And a big audible exhale. And then just coming back to the screen whenever you're ready. Thank you for joining with me in that. I love starting off episodes. I love starting off coaching and anything with just a little bit of grounding breath. So before we go too far, do a little cheersy with our drink. So what are you drinking this morning?
Well, I just happened to be drinking. That's funny because I make this every morning. It's like a liver tonic, and it's an Arabic tea. So it actually has marjoram and oregano and black pepper, and then your cayenne and your turmeric and ginger. It has all sorts of yummy stuff in there. And then I add lime and honey and depending on the day, but today I'm just lime and honey and apple cider vinegar. I always add apple cider vinegar to it, so it's wonderful. So that's what I'm drinking, and I wish you were here because I'll make you a cup next time you come.
Oh, yes. That sounds amazing. So is this a tea that people can buy somewhere?
Yeah, I have not made it available to the public yet, but I will. So
Okay.
it's just, and I always have my Christmas cup. It makes me happy. So
Love it. I love it. I've been trying to like rotate cups, but I'm like, I don't remember what I've used and what I haven't, just to make it interesting. So I went with this because I was wearing a green shirt. So, and I love plants. So
people can send you cups, and then you can use
there
the
you
mug
go.
during
Oh,
your
that'd be
presentation. You got to
fun.
put that
That'd be
out there.
fun.
People would love. People would love to do that.
That would be fun. Awesome. I love it. Okay. Well, if you would love to, I would love it if you would introduce yourself, who you are, maybe your background, what you do, just a little bit about you. So,
I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner, and I got into health pretty much when I was 20, 21 years old. I became pregnant, and after I got married, and I was on medication for epilepsy because I had, seizures most of my life. And so I'd have a seizure and have to ring a bell before the seizure. So everyone around me knew I was going to have a seizure, quite exciting on a date or at a sleepover. It was horrifying. Anyhow, and so when I got pregnant, I was like, I am going to change things around a little bit here. And so I just started researching. And that was actually, if you guys, most of you can't remember before the World Wide Web, but that was before the internet. I know there was no internet. Can you imagine? So I actually had to like read books and go to libraries and study, but I made significant changes in my diet, and I was able to, close the synapse. And so the dendrites would stick together. Everything was coordinating, and I didn't have any more seizures, and I was able to get off all my medication. And I've been epileptic free and seizure free for over 30 years now. So it's been amazing. And I just really dove into health after that because I was like, wait a minute, I could have lived my whole life without seizures had I known I needed GABA, which is the neurotransmitter that balances all the electricity in the body, So it was like, I was like, how come I didn't know that? And then I just, deep dove into that and opened up health food stores and cafes and wellness centers and educational centers. And about 2014 is when we closed everything just to put everything online. So it was wonderful. We put everything online, and now we have, one of the largest holistic health certification schools in the world. Our students are able to bill medical companies and insurance, and they work all over the world, and it's really been amazing. And we have the highest completion rate of any school, so it's really great. So our students love what they do, and we love having our students. So so I'm a practitioner. I live in. You had asked me to share where I'm living too, and so I'm actually living in Georgia, southern Georgia. I spent all of 2022 traveling the country in an RV that I renovated, and I wrapped it with pictures of organs and chromosomes and glands and tissues, and it says, "We love your guts" on it. You may have seen me on the road. And so I traveled during 2022 looking for land to build a retreat center, and I gave presentations around the country as I went. And I ended up in Hawkinsville, Georgia, which is like in the middle of nowhere. And but I had been looking for property. I'm sure we'll get into some neat stories, but after going to God and being like, I had lost some of my family, and because I had left the religion I raised my family in, and so I lost a lot of family, and it was very devastating. And I just turned it over to God. I was like, I'm not going to cry about it anymore. I'm here to serve. I've spent the year traveling. I'm looking for the property and hoped I'd get it before the end of the year. Completely gave it over. And the next morning, within 12 hours, I had pulled in this driveway, and God told me by the first magnolia tree up the driveway, God said, this is it. And I turned my realtor and I said, this is it. And she said, you haven't seen it. I said, God just told me this is it. And we are happily ever after on 67 acres, and we've named it Lily Fields. So we're very excited.
That gave me goosebumps when I was listening to that. That's amazing. Oh, did you say 67 acres?
Yes. Yep. We have 6, 7 acres, and I've worked tirelessly 20 hours a day. I mean, all 23. That's all I did, and I just worked, and I had a wonderful team, and the Lord sent the most amazing people. I mean, I believe in God. I love God. And I'm sure we'll talk about more of that later, but however that's defined even to me, I don't even know half the time. But anyhow, but all I know is that like God leads me, and that's just it. And I know that I've known that since I was a very young girl. I have wonderful stories to share, but that's just what happened. And the coolest people have come into our lives. Each one of them has a story, and they're here, and they all work, and it's been really amazing. So we're very excited to to be building the center, and people come all the time. They're always here. So it's been really wonderful.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, there's so much here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to how I then met you after I got married. So I didn't really know you very well. I didn't, I went through life. I was very Western medicine. I was in the nursing, in the hospital, all of that. And you had a health food store and the certification. And I don't know which one I found first. I think I went into your store. It was called Karen's Energy in West Bend. And I think you had classes and you might have posted them online or something. And maybe that's how I found it. And so I came to a couple classes, and my son at the time was having these little like bumps and things that were all over his body. And I think there was a couple other things that were happening. I had just had my gallbladder out. I wasn't feeling the best. And I came to one of your classes and you talked about how you don't have to get rid of organs. And I left that evening feeling really upset. I was so upset because I had just gotten my gallbladder out. And I was like, if I would have met her before I got my gallbladder out, maybe I wouldn't have had to go through all that, because I went through so much gut issues after I had my gallbladder out. Excuse me. And so, yeah, so that started me down this path of like, okay, maybe there's more to what I've learned in traditional Western, or not Western medicine, but like as being a nurse, even we hardly learn about nutrition in nursing school, and being like the food that you give in the hospital even is just, it's yeah. So I mean, we could go on for hours about just that. So it opened my eyes to this whole different realm of like, food can heal your body. And so I remember having you to my house one time, and I had this group of moms that came in, and you talked to us about healthy lunches, I think for our kids or something. And I just learned so much from you. And then I went into your certification program and I did do the certification. I have to say that I froze after that and I didn't do anything with it because I was still super stuck in this Western medicine model. This is how everybody else does life. I grew up in a bakery. My family owns a bakery. And
Oh,
so,
how sweet.
like it was just, there's so many things, and people would say like, oh, that sounds so silly, or you can't eat like that, or, there was just so much stacked against me. And I let the outside tell me what to do instead of really listening to my gut or listening to you, that there's other ways to do things. And so, yeah, I would love to hear a little bit about your story and how you got set up with doing like food stores and making food for people, and then having your certification. Like, how did that all come about?
Well, thank you. And that's so fun. I love hearing your story because we have thousands of students. I can't remember, everything
Right.
at all. So
Oh,
this
I
has been
bet.
just so beautiful. I'm so glad you didn't tell me before we met on here for Zoom. Well, I had started teaching classes on herbs at the church that I was attending
Mm.
in West Bend, Wisconsin. Once a month, I would just pick an herb and talk all about it. And then I started doing my cooking classes because I made everything from scratch and ground my own wheat and made my own bread and blah, blah, all that stuff and all soups. And so I started teaching cooking classes just for fun, down in the lower level of the gardens. Right. So I started cooking. And then during one of the cooking classes, the ladies were like, where do we get all this? I'm like, well, I go to the other side of the state to get all this stuff from the Amish store. I go to Chicago to get this. I order this in from, I was like, everything. And they all stared at me and I'm like, should just open a store. They're like, you should just open a store. And I'm like, okay, I'll open a store, And so I just ordered everything in and I opened a store in the middle of nowhere. If you remember, I mean, we were in the city of Neno, Wisconsin. There's population, not even 400 people. And that covers like extensive miles. Literally, it's all farmland. And the nearest city was 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away. And so I opened the store, and I remember the first day I was like, what have I done? Before we opened, and we had the first day and we had people come from hours away. It was so much fun. And then I just started offering cooking classes, and then I started offering health classes. And then people started asking, well, where do I learn all this? I'm like, I just learned it from all these different places, and then I became a practitioner and just kept sharing. And I was like, that's it. I got to write a book. So I had written the book before I became a practitioner. So then I had done a lot in health, just that's my background. I'd studied health forever for a long time. But anyhow, so I wrote the book and then I was becoming the holistic healthcare practitioner. And during that course, I was like, it was a wonderful course and lots of information, but I'm like, everyone needs to know things before they take this course. Like, this is nice. I'm learning lots of stuff that I probably never use, but it gets me some fancy certification. And I know all this in-depth information. I said, but I want to make it so the moms around the world can understand how the body works and they can heal at home, using remedies. And so it was really cool because while I was actually becoming a holistic healthcare practitioner, I was writing the therapeutic nutritional counseling course. So I wrote a 1,000-page textbook while I was taking this course because I was like, this course is great, but you're going to all need this before you ever consider doing this. And no one should have to spend their money doing that unless they're going to be reading lab work all the time and doing working with clients every single day. Like, it was great to learn that, but that wasn't my passion. So, but that's what drove me to do the TNC course. And we're the only TNC course in the world, by the way. I teach over 120 modalities of natural healing and diets from all around the world, and obviously all the blood work. And we have great, my daughter is probably one of the best teachers on anatomy and physiology I've ever seen in my entire life. She's absolutely amazing. So she's got her master's from Johns Hopkins. Don't even get me going on that though. You should have seen what happened there. But anyhow, but she's just all into this, right? She's the CEO of Holistic Health Educators. She's amazing. She's all over TikTok and Instagram and all sorts of things, just blowing it up. So it's been a lot of fun. So we actually combined efforts in 2020, and we went from Karen's Holistic Health, which with Karen's Energy and Karen's Holistic Health, to Holistic Health Educators. And that's when we went international. And that is when the TNC course is pretty in depth. And so we started the Holistic Health Coach Present course, which is also now it's the most in-depth HHC program we can find in the world. And so it's been really fun. So that's just we have classes in homeopathy and essential oils and childbirth. And I mean, we have just so our school has a lot of, and we're actually opening a college. This is the first podcast I mentioned that on, but we actually have the name and we're registered. And so that'll be something you'll see over the next few years. We're actually going to have a holistic college where you actually are getting college credits and you're able to work with it. It's a private college because we were asked to submit and have our course, the TNC course, as part of a college in Georgia many, many years ago, way before I moved here. And because they loved what we did. But they were like, okay, you can become a college, but you can't talk about EMFs and you can't talk about this and you can't talk about that. And I'm like, are you serious? I said, no way. So even though I would be a millionaire by now, with having our courses out there in the college setting, I could not. I have too much integrity. There's no way,
Wow.
I couldn't do it. So anyhow, so that's kind of where the courses came from, is just we closed the businesses to get it because it was wonderful meeting. I meet with clients. I still take a few clients here and there, but like one-on-one is wonderful, but I'd rather it be 1 in 10,000, or 1 in 200 or 1 in 25, then I'm able to help so many more people. And the more people that learn from our school, the more people that are out there helping other people. So that's kind of where the certifications stemmed from. But we do miss the store. So we're actually opening a little store online, and we're opening an actual apothecary, like in China and in Taiwan. You walk in and you're sick and we throw out the linen cloth and we're going to literally just pull drawers and put goji berries and barks and chicken's feet or whatever. I mean, whatever it might be. We're so excited. I'm working with a Chinese doctor down here, and we're going to have that at our center down here in Lilyfield. So
that's amazing. Okay,
I want to
get into
you can do this stuff, it's just fun. So
okay, I'm going to get into Lilyfield in a minute here, but let's go back to your book because I will put that in the notes here for people too if they want your book. It's an amazing book. I mean, and even your course itself, I remember doing it, but feeling very overwhelmed at the time. And I have gone back to some of the things because I still have my big old
the binder,
my 3-ring binder. And I was looking through it. I'm like, there is so much information in here, really so much information. And at the time, I had little kids. There was lots of things just going on in my life at the time. And it was so much for me, especially because I had come from the background that I did. And I don't think I was 100%. I don't want to say I wasn't 100% in it, but there was so much resistance
Mhm.
And so now that I'm on this side of it, I was like, man, going back and looking at everything that I did learn, if I would have, like, part of me kicks myself for not sticking with all of that at the time, because I could be, I don't want to say so much further ahead, because obviously my path has gone the way that it has for a reason. But
Yes.
yeah, I just want to say there's just so much in there, and I've learned so much from you. So yeah,
Oh,
you're a wealth
good.
of knowledge. Yeah.
Well, we happy to, and please reach out because we'll cook you up. We have a whole new program, like the TNC, the one you have.
Mhm.
It's redone and it's online. It's all updated. You'll love it. You will just love it, Jessica. So because we've been able to advance too. That was 2010, you know, and so now it's 2024, and we're so fancy. Like we have such an incredible staff. Like our CFO is like in Greece, and our COO is over in the UK. I mean, we're all over, and it's just so fun. They're the best people, and so helping people understand how the cells function and how the body can heal. That's our number one thing. And we actually just opened a course for under $40. So people can literally just any time of the day or night look on coughs, and we tell them exactly how to get rid of it. No Googling for paid searches. Like we don't sell nothing. It's just info. So that's been our goal. So it's neat that you've been along with us the whole time, Jessica. I'm
Yeah,
excited to get you into the new program. You'll love it.
yeah, that'd be awesome. So then is your program, is everything you talked about the college and things, is everything online, or you can have an actual physical space too?
Everything is online. We have a physical space here at Lilyfield. So we teach classes every Thursday. And we have our studio here, so people can come in person, but we are in the middle of nowhere, so the people who are local can take advantage of that. But a lot of people fly in, or they'll stay at the bed and breakfast on the property, and then they'll come to classes, or they'll stay for the weekend. But the healing center is going in, and that'll house 80 people. So that'll be phenomenal. But so right now the courses are just all online, and we did that on purpose because then we can reach everybody,
Right.
So we still every 2 years, I believe it's been, we have a TNC live, and then everyone who wants to fly in can fly in, and they spend the 40 hours with us that week, and we do it live. But we just did that last fall, and that was really fun. So
Yeah, that's so fun. Awesome.
oh,
Okay.
but we have these. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you go ahead.
We have the calls. And so like Monday night is free, and they're to the whole world. And those are called Monday Night Madness with Karen and Amy. And those are just like super crazy and fun. And they're always about a health topic or some topic. But then Tuesdays are for our clients and our students. And so our TNC and our HHC students all meet together every Tuesday. And so you have a really great community. And then Thursday, we have a community call as well for the Human Body Master Guide. And all of our students are in that guide, plus people and the public. So there's 3 times a week that they're with people, and they can come on live calls. So even though it's online, they're always with each other. So
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, and I'll have to get those links for you. So if anybody wants to join in any of this, or
yeah.
yeah, to the program, that we can have those links shared in the notes here. So I want to go to when I was in your program, your daughter Lily was really sick, and I remember you having lots of discussions about different things that you were doing. I remember one specifically about like cord cutting, which I was so interested at the time, because I was like, why would a mom want to cut the cord with her daughter? And like, I don't know,
Mhm.
just so much. There's just so many different modalities and different things that you taught and different things that you spoke about that I just didn't understand.
Mhm.
And so I'd love to hear a little bit about that journey if you feel comfortable sharing that, because I know that she had gone through a lot, where you said she was like bedridden and things, and now she is living a vibrant life. So can you talk about
Yes.
that a little bit?
Yep. So yeah, actually, after the 4.5 years of her being bedridden,
Four and a
um,
half years.
I couldn't talk. I mean, I couldn't. I would just drop of a hat. I would just cry. And I still like I'm emotional right now because that was
Yeah.
like no mother should have to go through
Mm.
that. That is why we put our big program, let's take out the Human Body Master Guide online, because no mother should ever have to go through what I went through. No one, or father, any parent for that matter. But yes, Lily is our youngest of 12. And so I had 7 children. She was my youngest.
Mhm.
So I had 5 from my first husband, and he was extremely abusive. And so we left, and I was a single mom with 5 children. And I married my best friend from college because his wife had left him for some rich guy in Chicago. So we just we got married as best friends to raise our families together. And we ended up having 2 more children together. So we had a his, hers, and ours. And then we adopted one. And then I have a daughter who was left to me when her mother died. Her mother was one of my students. And when she passed away, I got her daughter. And it's wonderful. She's one of my closest friends as well. She's just darling. Anyhow, that's Ariella. So Lily was born, and we knew right away. I knew within about 8 months, 9 months that something wasn't right, but I didn't know what it was. So I was just very particular with her diet. And I found that she couldn't have any sugars, no fruits, nothing at all, like really sweet. And she couldn't really have, meats. And it was just very different diet. And so I tested her all the time to know what she could eat, what she couldn't eat. But by the time she got to be 12, she had gone through puberty, and there was just some definite issues. Her stomach wouldn't empty. Her colon wouldn't move. Her urination system was not regulated. She would stop breathing. She would stop swallowing. Her whole body, her heart would stop. She couldn't get out of bed. Right. I mean, her whole body just kind of went into a breakdown. And you're right. I teach these 120 modalities of natural healing. And so I took my own binder and just started working on, okay, what could this be? What could it be? We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars taking her to medical doctors, naturopathic doctors in our country, out of our country. The first trip we made was down to Mexico to get a bunch of diagnostic testing done that we couldn't do here in America. And so we got a lot of scanning done. I mean, I did so much diagnostic, and I've written a book on how to reverse this, by the way, because after 4.5 years of in and out of different, facilities. At one point, I say broke down and went to Children's Hospital because I'm like, what can they possibly do? But they said the same thing. They're like, after I sat in the emergency room with two of their top medical doctors for 3 hours, letting them know everything that we had done, they'd ask a question, I'd tell them what we had done. And they said, they're like, we are so sorry. There's nothing we can do here. You've done everything. There is nothing else we could do. And by this point, Lily was, unbelievably exasperated, because to get her out of bed and then take her somewhere was very traumatic, because all of her bodily systems weren't controllable. She would just not be able to swallow, not be able to breathe. It was so awful. It was very, very hard to travel. And so, she learned so much about the human body. She knew there are several medical doctors that told her that she knew more about the digestive system and the human body than they even did, because they didn't know that much about it. They still don't know much about the digestive system at all. That's why they keep giving antibiotics. People have SIBO or something. It's ridiculous. And so they're learning, thank God, but they really didn't, especially then. And so it was really hard. But after those 4.5 years is when we discovered the word dysautonomia. And that is incurable, and it's been around since the 1800s, and quote unquote incurable. And it's the autonomic nervous system. And of course, that's what we teach. So we had acupuncture was the one thing that would relieve her. She did acupuncture since the time she was 12. But it was so hard for her to travel to the acupuncturist, and because she had to urinate constantly, she couldn't lay still with the needles. And so it had just become so terrible. There was actually the lowest of low points, and there were two of them, because she couldn't eat. She couldn't keep any food in her. I mean, she was all bones, and she would, the only way to feed her was to, we had a jacuzzi tub in our bedroom. And so she stayed in our bedroom all the time. And I'd put her in the jacuzzi tub with as many minerals as I could, so at least she would get minerals in through the skin. And one of the days that she was coming out, and I would feed her that way twice a day sometimes. That was the only way to get food into her, was through her skin. And she came out of the bathtub, and she was standing up, and every bone in her body you could see. And I was just like, this cannot be happening, and especially, and I took it personally. This is me. This is what I do for a living. I've been able to help thousands of my clients out, reverse cancer, reverse all these huge major things, epilepsy and narcolepsy and just you name it. And here's this daughter of mine who was suffering so badly. Oh, it was absolutely incredible. And so when we found out it was dysautonomia, then I went just completely full bent on helping her autonomic nervous system. And we did that with acupuncture sometimes twice a day. And then, just different therapies to regulate that. And so we did, and please forgive me, I can't remember the name of it. I used a pharmaceutical. She took 1/8 of a pharmaceutical pill that would release her stomach at night. And that was like miraculous. I was so grateful for that. And so that was one thing that definitely helped. Anyhow, she's actually getting married in June of 2024 here. So we're very excited, June 1st. So very excited. Yeah, she's living a very full life. So dysautonomia may not be reversible, but it's 100% treatable. And that's what I've shared. So I wrote a book on dysautonomia, and it's free to the public so that no one ever has to suffer with this. And isn't this crazy, Jessica? Because what is one of the issues happening since the ridiculous jab that the world put put upon people. POTS. POTS
Mhm.
is a form of dysautonomia. So
I
you
have
can,
POTS actually.
you do. Oh my gosh. Well,
Mhm.
I have to get you my book. But yeah, it has been amazing because so many people and so many children have, EDS or POTS, and these are all just forms of dysautonomia. So for Lily to have so many severe forms, because she has both POTS and EDS as well, she had so much of dysautonomia, and how, sometimes you don't see that silver lining and what a blessing what your trials can be for other people once you get through that. And so Lily, I mean, she has held her head high. She wrote in her journal all the time. And I mean, she just came out of this a warrior. She just inspires so many people. Anyhow, so I have a dysautonomia landing page. I can share that with you. And
Yeah,
I shot a couple of videos like on what is a spoonie, and then dysautonomia and a link to the book, which is free. So
that's amazing. I do know quite a few people that actually are really suffering with POTS right now. So this would be a really great resource. So yeah, and especially that you did it for free. I mean, that's amazing.
yeah.
Wow. And so yeah, and her journey, I mean, she probably wasn't even able to go to school. Like, did you homeschool her? You did everything was at home. Wow. Hmm.
Yeah, she would go to school. It seemed to be that she could go to school for maybe from August until November, but she'd missed many, many days, sometimes weeks at a time. But I tried to keep her, in school for those first couple of years of her high school year, but she couldn't do dances. I mean, she went to one dance for 2 songs and I had to bring her home, and I had her in dance so that she'd be with other people, but she would go for like a half an hour practice and then we'd come home, so it was very, and then I just pulled her out of a team because there's no way she could do what the team did all the time, but at least she'd see people for a couple hours a week. And then, but I put her in private dance, and that was wonderful because I just paid extra, and she would just let Lily work when she could work. But it was probably the first time that Lily went to compete. We signed her for competition. I thought, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But all I knew is if we got to the competition, which wasn't too far from our home, about a half an hour away, and if she could at least compete and then I could take her home right away,
Mhm.
then she could at least do something. And so it was really cool because she had worked very hard, and she did the song to The Climb, by Miley Cyrus, because it's all about that climb. It's climbing that mountain to see what's on the
Yeah.
other side, which really was symbolic of her life and her struggles, her whole life. I mean, it started when she was 6. We already were doing so much to help her body. Anyhow, and she actually won first place out of all the girls in her age group that had
Wow.
been dancing forever. And I think it was just because this trophy was as big as she was, because it was just so much from the heart. It was just so much from the heart with her dancing. So it was really cool. So it was an incredible journey, but
Yeah.
that was,
Is that why your space is called Lily Fields?
it actually is part of the reason. It's really fun. One of our dear friends, one of my students was also a nurse. We have, I think, at least a quarter of our students are nurses, by the way, and doctors. We have a lot of doctors, a lot of doctors. Anyhow, and one of our students, Mary Dillon, she was 70, maybe she was 67 when she found our school. She died when she was 77. So maybe she was 65. Anyhow, she became a good friend of ours and took all of our courses, but she became very close to the family, and she didn't have any children. So my children became her children and my grandchildren became her grandchildren. And, so all the kids called her Mare Bear, and she was part of the family. And I was, talking about building the retreat center for the last many, many years. And she wanted to come with us and help build the retreat center and the healing center. It's also a clinic. And so we laid out the surgical rooms because she was a surgical nurse and in charge of 200 and some staff members all these years in ERs and whatnot. So she was very integral in part of what we were doing. And as I was traveling in 2022, looking around the country for where to build the buildings, I was presenting all over, and I had been in Texas presenting at the end of September. And then early October, I was supposed to be speaking in northern Texas. I can't remember which city it was. I had just spoken in Katy, and was it Houston I was going to be in? But I woke up that morning, and God said, you need to go to Vegas. And I'm like, I'm flying back home to Vegas on Tuesday. This is Sunday morning. God's like, you have to go right now. I'm like, I'm in my RV and I'm like, I'm speaking. And I got this lady who's packed, who's coming with me for the next 3 days in my RV. And like her suitcase is by the door, like I'm in her house and we're leaving today. And God's like, nope, you need to go right to Vegas. And so 3 hours I wrestled and with God from 2 until 5 in the morning or so. Or I'm sorry, it was more like 4 or 5 in the morning until 7. And then I got up and I just went and told Carol, I said, Carol, I'm so sorry. I said, I've got to cancel everything. I actually have to go right to Vegas. And I got in my RV and drove 37 hours and
Wow.
got to Vegas. And Mary had declined in health. We'd been monitoring her health and working with her, but she had been exposed to a lot of Agent Orange. She served in Vietnam and cancer had come and just kind of taken over within a few months. And anyhow, so I got there and we put her in the hospital and I brought her home on hospice a couple of days later and she died a few days later. So it was really interesting. And her email was Lily Fields. And so she wanted to be part of what we were doing here. And so she left some money to use towards the retreat center. So it wasn't enough to buy the whole thing or anything, but it was a phenomenal help. So we used that and we put, since she loved my Lily, even so when Lily was sick for those 4.5 years, she would always just send gifts and stop by and visit her because she knew she was bedridden. And so Lily had a special place in her heart. And so it just ended up being Lily Fields. So
Oh, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. I love that.
well, I wasn't going to do that. I was going to like move to Hawaii and open some little clinic somewhere, and enjoy the beautiful weather. Anyhow, since half my family didn't talk to me anymore because I left the church. Anyhow. And so, but then I was like washing the floor before I was bringing her home on hospice, thinking about, okay, with the money that Mary left, for the family, I could do a little something, here, there. And then God's like, oh no, you're opening up Lily Fields. And I'm like, what's Lily Fields? Like, he's like, no, you're opening Lily Fields. And I'm like, what's Lily Fields? And then he said, you're going to open up this retreat center that Mary was so excited about. So I told Amy and Lily and then her sister Lana. Mary had a sister. She's older than her, considerably older than her, almost 10 years. And this is kind of a cool story. Can I share another quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was in the hospital with Mary and she was dying. And I was like, Mary, what is it? What is it you need taken care of so you can move forward? She said, Karen, she says, who's going to take care of my sister? And I'm like, I'll take care of your sister. Like, I don't know her, but I'll whoever she is, I'll find her. I'll take care of her sister, And that was it. She just needed someone to take care of her sister. So I actually moved her sister in the next day. We went and moved her sister in. So Lana, I still take care of Lana. She's 82 and she's just a spitfire. She's really fun. She can't see very well and can't hear very well, but oh my gosh, she's a lot of fun. So I love her to pieces. So she's with us as well, which has been really neat. So she gets to live, Mary's dream, and it's
Yes.
been very special. So
That's amazing. Oh,
yeah,
I love that.
it's cool.
All right. Well, how do you feel about diving into the conversation of God, spirituality,
Love it.
all of that? Okay. So you've mentioned a couple times you've lost family and things because of leaving the church. I know that there's a lot around religion and around, family ties and all of that and what people feel like we should do or they think is best, especially when it comes to certain religions. I remember growing up and we weren't Catholic or Lutheran. We were just, it was non-denominational church that I had gone to at the time. And I remember having a conversation with a friend. I was very young. And she asked what we were, if we were Catholic or Lutheran. And I was like, well, I don't think we're either of those. And she's like, well, no, you have to be one of those. And I was like, well, I don't think that we are, but I don't know. So I went and I talked to my mom. I was like, she says we have to be Catholic or Lutheran. Like, what are we? And my mom's like, well, we're neither of those. We're a non-denominational church. That's what we go to. And that was so hard for me to comprehend because like she was telling me that I had to be one or the other. And then my mom was like, no, it doesn't really matter. But I didn't really question more than that. Like I wasn't a big questioner at the time just because I was just like, I'm a recovering people pleaser, I call myself. So I would just go with the flow. Yes.
I love it.
Go with the flow and whatever anybody said I needed to do, I would just do. And I didn't really question a lot of things. But now I have found in the last like 2.5 years, I've really questioned a lot of things. Like, at one point I was like, is there even a God? I don't know. But I fully, truly believe in God. I always have. I still truly believe it. I think now more than ever. And so I would love to hear your story. Like how did you grow up? What was the religion you grew up in? And then where are you at right now?
Sure. Wow. So I've not been asked much about religion on any calls before, so this is kind of fun. I grew up Catholic, so we grew up in Wisconsin, where everybody is usually Catholic or Lutheran, so I understand that.
Yeah.
But I grew up Catholic, and I questioned the priests and my religious instructors all of the time. I must have driven them insane. One of them, Tony, he's still alive, Tony Fisher, he was my CCD teacher. And he still reminds me to this day that I was his favorite student, but boy, did I ask him questions, you know? And it was like all they ever said, every priest, every leader always said, just have faith. It's just faith. Some things we just don't know. You just have to have faith, you know? Anyhow, so I went to college and I studied religion. I'm like, okay, so if I just have to have all this faith in something, I got to figure out, you know, what I have faith in. So I went to college for radio and TV broadcasting, and then for religious studies, I studied religion and the history of religion. And it was really fascinating because as I studied the history of religion, I started going to all the churches in the city that I was in just to see what they were like. And I remember I went to a Catholic church because that was traditional what I had been. And I watched in and there's a clown, like a full clown, just greeting people and trying to get people to come into the church, you know, standing outside. And I went to a Lutheran church. I read the Quran because neighbors were Muslim. I went to the, you know, some of the Baptists, the more the evangelistic, you know, churches. And it was just interesting. It was interesting to see religion, right? And I just kind of had this feeling that religion division was pretty prominent, you know, and you can see that even when you study the history of religion, you know, the Anabaptists is where the Baptists came from. And so you can see where, you know, Martin Luther, you know, wonderful man, did a lot of incredible things. You can just see all these divisions. And it was pretty much because a man's philosophy differed from another man's philosophy, you know, and so that's just kind of what I see a lot of religion is based on is philosophy. I think a lot of religion is based on philosophy, and a lot of religion is based on emotions. Oh my gosh, there's so many emotions in religions, and then I think that people get misled that that's the spirit, and I think that's very different than the spirit because I know plenty of emoholics, you know, they're addicted to emotions. Everything's emotional. Oh, they're having one emotion this day and one the next. And, you know, like, but I also know emotions are issues with the gut and with the liver. Like, this is what I do for a living. So like, there is a literal physiological problem with people who are really emotional. They have gut issues, period, right? And people who are depressed, people who are suicidal. These are the gut issue. This is a GABA. This is acetylcholine. These are neurotransmitters that aren't firing right. This is serotonin deficiency. Like these are physical things that are manifesting as emotions that people then think is the spirit. And one of the books I really want to write, Jessica, and I've started it now, but I haven't finished it at all, is understanding, is it an emotion or is it the spirit? Like, when are you being led by God and when are you being led by your brain, right? Because they're very, very different.
Yeah.
God does not live in your brain.
Right.
And most people think that he does, and he doesn't. And so, not in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I actually joined a religion when I was in college because the people were so nice. I went to church there and they were so nice. And one of my professors was one of the you know, leaders of the church there. And anyhow, it was actually the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. And so otherwise known as the Mormons. But this would be before the World Wide Web, you know, before you could do any studying, before you could really understand the history of any, you know, a lot of different churches. But it was just, I would, you know, and I still went to college for religion. And I read all of James one night, all of John the next night, all of Peter one night, like that's you have Peter, James, you read all of this, all of Mark, all of Luke, you know, all in scripture, and you know, all in one, you know, one night. And when you read your Bible for 3 hours in a day for weeks on end, you kind of get to know God a lot different than reading a scripture and then whoever you're listening to their philosophy of what that scripture means, you know? So I came to a point where it's like, I really get God. Like, I've read the Bible so much and I've read it for like hours at a time. So you can kind of tell, oh, that's not right. No, that's not what they meant. That's just that's an error. You know, I definitely know the Bible is not every single word is like from God. No. That's 66 books, which should get you, you know, which already right there is a red flag because it's 66, which isn't a great number. And yeah, and so like it's 66 books that were chosen for you out of hundreds of books that we know are written that no one has. I mean, just look online. There's so many. There's some great websites that have gathered a lot of these different books that, you know, the wife of Peter wrote, and like Christ didn't write anything. Of course he wrote something. Like there's just so much we weren't given. And I think that religion, based on how all religions are right now, they're very much a philosophy of man. And then there's some scriptures in there, and that's every single religion. They bring you, and then they tell you what they feel the Bible says, and we're all going to find the place that we feel comfortable, right? We're all going to find those walls of a church building where we actually feel more comfortable than another church building because they align with more of our belief patterns. And so that's just like how I view religion, but that's also how I view the king, where the Bible came from. What do we want them to believe? This is what we're going to put together. This is what we want them to believe, and and I studied Greek and studied Hebrew, and I read the concordances. And I mean, I threw myself and I read the Q, like all that stuff. The Q was way before all the stuff with the political parties, by the way. But the Q is actually a book that a lot of researchers find a lot of similarities in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are all in the same book, and they doesn't matter. But I'm saying is I've read so much that if you take a bird's eye view, I think religion is great for people because it unites them together. It brings them together. They're in a wonderful community. Like my sweetheart, Greg, my husband, Greg, he's in a part of a wonderful church. The people are so wonderful. He doesn't believe every single thing his church teaches either, but the people are wonderful. If I'm going to go hang out on a Sunday with some people, I go a couple times a month. And usually I enjoy the sermon. I always get something out of it because you're always going to find what you're looking for. So if you go with open heart somewhere, you can find things that you want. But I go to support my sweetheart, and I love God because God and I have this great relationship, And so I think when I chose to study, the history of the LDS church, and it was interesting because Lily she could not go into the church. She would go into the church and she'd sit down, and we were out of the church building within 15 to 20 minutes. We would get, I'm not kidding you, Jesse, it almost gives me the weird bejeebies. We would get down the road about 20 minutes or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and she'd be just fine. She could not be. And I thought, is this part of a reaction to adjuvants used in the church building? All the churches use the same cleaning chemicals, but it didn't matter where we went in the country. Every time we walked into an LDS church, we'd be out of there within 15, 20 minutes because she would get so sick from being in it.
LDS church?
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon.
Okay, Latter-day Saints.
Okay. Yeah, they go by all sorts of acronyms depending on what their leadership says. Anyhow, and so wonderful people. Like I said, if there's anybody watching, it's a wonderful religion. But when I studied it and put together a 77-page document of, these aren't the beliefs. This isn't what I want to. This is not what I choose to believe. It's not, because there's a lot of history that definitely the members of the church do not know at all. And so. Anyhow, so when I left, that was really hard on some of my family, and some of them called me a spiritual danger because I had left the church now, and their kids loved me. And they were afraid that my grandchildren, who would not even I couldn't even get out of the car door without all of them around me when I would go to the house, right? They were afraid that because the kids liked me so much, they loved me so much, that they would listen to me when they grew older. And so they just said I could have no more contact with the grandchildren or with them. No cards, no Christmas, no birthdays, no contact at all. So it was just weird, and it was hard on my husband, but I wasn't going to go back to the temple again. And I wasn't going to live paying money to a church that had billions in illegal offshore funds. I cannot support. I have a lot of integrity. It's one thing that I built our business on, even, and you remember in the health food store. I don't know if you remember this one time in the health food store, but I learned that Cascadian Farms had been bought out, and boom, I got rid of everything that was from Cascadian Farms, right? And then Burt's Bees had been bought out by Clorox, boom, got rid of all Burt's Bees. And then what was that one? Garden of Life, they had been lying, totally deceiving on their labels about vegan. Oh, this is completely vegan, yet there was sheep something in it, right? Got rid of all their, I was just one of those, anything with the GMO out the door. It was just that's just who I was. So when this happened, and I made the decision to remove my garments and leave the church. It was devastating. It was very, I was married for a few years after that, but it just got hard. That was really hard. And so anyhow, all things are good. And the children that I don't see anymore, And I just know I've been the best mother I could be. And I've raised them with lots of love and to have faith and help all their neighbors. And so I'm in a better place now, but I think the breakthrough was realizing I raised my children for me. Like, I didn't do it for them. I think a lot of moms raise their kids and their identity is their children. But
Mm.
when their children all grow up and leave, well, who are they? And that's what I was going through. I was going through, oh my gosh, out of all of my children, right? These 12 people, I lost 6 of them instantly, right? You know, and one of them, the one we adopted, she's on family number 9, right? And she's just, and because of this and everything else. And so it was just like, it was just a weird time in my life. And I came to the realization that I had my children in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. For me, it was fun. And I had through all the birthday parties because I love a party. And I took them with me on all my service projects. I wanted my children to learn to serve other people. So I dragged them all the time to mow lawn and cut grass and, you know, and whatever, you know, leaves and make dinners for all the neighbors and whatever. Like I did my life. I raised my children so they'd be raised well. And it was what I wanted to do. I didn't need to put them all in band and soccer and football and whatever. I didn't need to do that, but I wanted that for my kids. And it was fun. It was fun to be a part of the community. I think that really helped me. So for your listeners who have, you know, kind of really gone through that, when you let go and realize that it's your life actually that you're living, and you did it and it was fun, then you can just let it go and be like, okay, that chapter's over. You know, some of my, technically have, oh, I don't know, like 20 some grandkids, but I can't see most of them. So, you know, I have the ones in my life I can see and I'm thrilled. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Yeah. So now I know, so you were in the West Bend area for a very long time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you moved to Utah. And then I think we kind of like, I lost contact with you a little bit because you moved out there. And
Mhm.
so what made you move to Utah? Like, what was your
Oh,
deciding factor to go out
easy,
there?
easy move.
Yeah.
So a lot of my children were in Utah,
Okay.
Idaho, and in California. So they're all over on the west side of the state of the country. And so and the Gardens Wedding Center was super fun. Like we had the Gardens Wedding Center, we had 2 daycare centers, we had the cafe, we had a big store in West Bend, we had an educational center, we had a lot going on, and we were very involved in the community. But they opened up, the public schools opened up after school care for the kids and before school care for all the kids. So we lost a lot of our daycare students because now you could go for free to the public
Mhm.
schools.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a problem. And then our buildings needed so much attention all the time. And we kept wanting to travel out, you know, out west. And we had already bought a building out west and we had already had opened up a store there. So every month I flew back and forth, you know, to teach and get everything ready out there. And the biggest reason we actually moved, not just because the children were there, so many more of the kids were there, is because in Wisconsin, love it. I love Wisconsin. Still probably my favorite state. I love it. I love Georgia. Trust me, I'm never moving out of Georgia. But in Wisconsin, you can tell someone something inspiring and excited, and they'll tell 10 people over 10 years. Like they'll get excited, but they know they really can't talk to all their friends about it, blah, blah. Utah, those people are insane. They're so much fun, right? So it's like if someone gets inspired to do something good, they tell everyone. And this is the example. One of the first times I went to Utah to present was back in 2000, let's say 10 or 11. And I flew there. And the first night, there were 23 people in attendance. The fourth night, there were over 250 people in attendance because everyone told everybody, and then everybody came, you know, and thank goodness we had a huge facility for that fourth
Mhm.
night. But I had only planned 3 nights of presentations. And then someone who came to the first night said, we really want you to speak at our big community and we think we can fill the house. I said, okay, if I can promote it to the public, I'll do that. And I did. And it was just incredible. And that was pretty much the game changer because I was like, I've written this book. I have all these courses, you know, that they're putting together. I said, let's see what happens in Utah. And it just blew up. So Wisconsin was amazing. The people there are much more, much more reserved, I should say. Where in Utah, that's why every MLM is headquartered in Salt Lake City or Utah,
Yeah.
because everybody talks to each other. They're like, oh, you should do this. Okay, you know, and you know, it's just funny. And so that's where it all stems from, is this internal trust to do anything that someone who's a member of the church is also, or someone that is trustworthy is telling you to do, you should just do, you know. So it's close knit, but yet it's lots of fun. And we were in the community and active in the church. And so it just kind of spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
So when we opened up our store there, we opened it in Draper, Utah, and it was very enjoyable. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. They're very lovely people. It was a
Yeah.
wonderful community. So
Mm. And then is the reason then you moved out of Utah was because of the divide with the family and leaving the
Mhm.
church. Yeah.
Yeah, like literally, I was literally 10 minutes away from one of my children, and I had like make appointments, and I a couple times a year I could see them or something. Like it was ridiculous. And we were like, I wanted to take the kids, bowling once a week, or do like go out with the grandkids and do things with them, very, very nope, 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 so maybe a few times, a year. And it was just very hard. And then another one of my daughters, the one that was up north, couldn't see them very often, and then couldn't see her at all. I was X'd out of that family. And it was just so weird, and then one of my, it was weird. I was like, I don't, I kept, I kept thinking, God knows me. I need a city to organize. That's why I kept saying, I said, I need a country that needs me. Like I need something to do, because I can't just sit in this little house. And I had to sit in this little house because we lost our big ranch. We lost our ranch, and we had to sell all the horses when Lily got really sick. And Roger and I bought a cute little house in Cedar City. We renovated the whole thing. So I was in this little house in a little city. And Roger got a job being a school teacher, and he was very happy to stay there and be a school teacher and be active in church and go to the temple, and I'm like, like, this isn't me,
Yeah.
this I'm going crazy, so, and I'd already left the church, but then I was like, Roger, I got things to do with my life. Like, you knew that when we got married, we were best friends in college, and I do big things. And I said, but I still want to build a retreat center, and I can't give tithing, and I can't support this church anymore. I just can't, I cannot. And it just didn't. And
Yeah.
there were some communication issues. I'm pretty open on communication, and that was probably a harder thing, but for him. But we're still friends, and I can't never not love him, because
Right.
I raised his children and he helped raise my children, and because we were best friends. And after what I went through with my first husband, there's no way I would ever get married again. And I
Right.
didn't. I got married to Roger because I could trust him. So I think sometimes people like look at relationships like the end result is the accumulative of the relationship. And we shouldn't look at that. Like Raj and I are a great example of, we were best friends in college. We didn't sit together or anything. We're just best friends. He got married. I got married. We had our children. Our spouses left. And as friends, we came back to raise our children. We were very close friends. We had 2 more children, and we're still friends. And I think that, like, just because we got the divorce because of these communication and religious differences, that doesn't define the whole relationship. The
Right.
relationship was a blessing to both of us. I don't know what I would have done without Roger, and I don't know what he would have done without me, and we still have these children that we love, and my kids all love Roger, he's still very involved in all their life because he's still a member of the church. And so how can I be upset? I can't be upset, or I'm hurt. I'm sad that that part of my life didn't end the way I thought it would be, but God's going to do something with you.
Yeah.
If it's all about you, well, then you're not going to get it very far in life, are you? It's
Right.
actually not about you. This is not about me. So
Such a beautiful story. And now you just got married, right?
oh gosh, this is really funny. So when I moved here, there's this little boathouse, you guys. You've got to come and see the boathouse. It's so cute. We have this pond, and there's this little house that had 4 walls. And I remember walking in there, and Amy and I just started crying the first time we were seeing the property with the realtor. I'm like, this is just so peaceful. Just these 4 walls on a platform, and a little roof. And I'm like, I'm going to live here. This is where I'm going to live. I'm going to renovate this, and I'm going to live here. My grandkids can stay here with me. I was never going to get married again. Are you kidding me? So no way, I'm not changing my name again, and so I did. We bought the property, and I started renovating and it's beautiful. I mean, beautiful bathroom and a clawfoot tub and really nice kitchen area, and the whole thing overlooks the pond. The other windows overlook all the gardens, and the labyrinth is right up. We put a labyrinth on the property. It's right outside the door. Like, it's just the perfect getaway, right? So I'm finished, and so I built it for me, one person, right? And one time I had been my nose has been itching. I apologize for that. I had been taking a walk on the property. And I was like, Lord, if you ever are going to send somebody in my life, it's got to be someone who can protect this property and protect me, because I'm not, there's a lot of property, and we're doing a lot of things on here. But I was like, but I'm not looking. He knows I wasn't looking. And so built the boathouse, renovated the property. And then in August of 2023, we had been inviting all these groups over to so I can get to know the community. So we're Lily Fields. And so we invited all the employees that work at Ace Hardware and all their friends, and all the employees that work at the furniture store and all their friends, and the Chamber of Commerce and the garden club, and like all these people. We didn't invite everybody over. And one of my friends was the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Tyler, and he was the director of a show at the Opera House down here. And I'm like, hey, why don't you have your cast party here? At the house. Here's our God story. Super fun. So he's like, okay. So we went to the performance, and it was super fun. It was a really it was a really fun play. So he had helped write some of it, but it was just fun. We watched the performance. My parents had just come up the day before. We watched the show, and then all the cast came over, and they were out and swimming in the pool and barbecuing out there in the kitchen out there and blah blah. And he's like, why don't you come out and talk to everybody? Just tell them what you are at Lily Fields. So I came out and I told everybody what I did, at Lily Fields and who we were. Anyhow, and there happened to be this really tall, handsome guy. And he was the lead in the play. And he was there, I thought, okay, well, he's cute, and I didn't know his name or anything, but I went in the house because my parents had just come up down from Wisconsin. So a couple hours go by, and I'm talking to my parents, and God's like, get in the pool. And I'm like, why would I get in the pool? Why would anybody in the pool? Why would I get in the pool? He's like, get in the pool. I'm like, I'm not going to get in the pool. Like, I'm quite busy. I'm talking to my parents. They just got here, and God's like, get in the pool. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So I'm like, whatever. I'm like, Mom, I got to get in the pool. I'm like, I don't know. I decided to get in the pool, So I went upstairs, and I'm putting my swimsuit on. And I remember I was rushing to get my swimsuit on. It was inside out because I've been in the hot tub, and I'm wet, and I'm like, why am I rushing to get in my pool? This is the stupidest thing, And, so I come down the stairs. Someone in the kitchen is like, hey, I have a question. I said, I got to get in the pool. I can't answer you right now. It was that like sassy of Karen, okay, well, whatever, God, and literally I go to the pool, and he was in the pool with two of his friends, through the cast members, and he had 1 foot out of the pool when I put 1 foot in the pool. He turned to me, he said, are you going to get in the pool? I said, yeah, I'm going to get in the pool. He goes, I'll stay for a little bit. And then we just talked for hours. Everybody left, the whole party. I don't even know. I mean, like, all I was like stargazer or something, our stuff. Anyhow, so everyone had left, and Lana, I had brought Lana out. Didn't even remember she was outside, and she sat there at the end of the pool watching us the whole 2.5 hours. It was just so great. She tells that story. It's so funny. I couldn't see her. I didn't, because he was right next to me, but anyhow, it was so funny. Anyhow, and we just have been together ever since. We just, and so he started traveling with me when I'd present, and we'd, get a couple beds in a hotel room and be like, this is weird, and he took me to meet his family on week 3 because we just were inseparable. So it is literally happily ever after every single day. So we got married 4 months later. We literally got married in December, and we met in August, and we are extremely happy. We're both, and so the boathouse is up for rent. So we rented out as an Airbnb, but it worked out. It worked out great. So, and now he's in the house. We'll build a house at some point, but right now we're just working on the business. So,
so cool. Man, we went all over the place. I want to just
I'm just answering.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. So bringing it back to nutrition aspect, if there's anybody on here that is really struggling with their health, with nutrition, with where to start, what to do. I mean, obviously I will put your links, your free book about the dysautonomia, your course, all of that kind of stuff in here. But I mean, obviously it would be hard to know just to talk to the general public, but if there's anybody who's like, I'm struggling, I'm listening to you, this sounds amazing. Like, where do I go? What do I do? How do I start? What would you say?
Well, why don't I'll grant all your followers empowered online. It's a 2-day course that we put into 1 day. It was always a few $100s. And so I'll grant that to you. So just let me know. I'll give you that link, and then you can share that with everybody. And it's 4 to 6, I think it's 6 hours, but it is incredible, and it is so much fun. It is so much fun. And I'll also, I can grant the Cell Talk series. So how cells function. Amy and I do a Cell Talk series. It's very sciencey, but it's super fun. You'll love it, love it, love it. It's amazing to learn about the cells and how cells function. We really get into it, but the Empowered would be a great place to start. I would, if they're looking to, okay, they watch Empowered, they're all excited. They can always get certified, but they can always do things on their own. So like the program that we have right now that we open up to the public is the Human Body Master Guide. And we have over 250, 270 health elements. So You can look POTS. And then it's not just me who explains how to get rid of POTS. We have 25 doctors and practitioners in there right now. And we just started interviewing again. So we actually have about 23 other doctors lined up. So what you'll see is like, if you go under POTS or you go under stress, you took, abdominal pain or, SIBO, there'll be videos from all these different doctors that do different things, because that was the coolest thing when I was out with Lily, is like the acupuncturist knew how to treat it this way. Well, the massage lady and the myofascia person also added this, and the essential oil person would say, hey, use these essential oils. And the herbalist would say, recommend these. So it was like, instead of you having to go and spend money for every single one of these different doctors, we've done it so that you can just come into the course and be like, oh, that's how I get rid of brain cancer, or oh, that's how I get rid of, treat auto whatever. I mean, doesn't matter. We have so many, there's so many health ailments that we cover, but of course, epilepsy and there, Parkinson and MS. And because of the best part of my life, and my life, literally, you had asked me one time what my sole purpose was. And I think my sole purpose was to give hope. Like, it's just to provide hope. It is, because you can. I had scoliosis, and I reversed my scoliosis, and I share my before and after x-rays. I had epilepsy, and I reversed my epilepsy, and I share how and why in the Human Body Mastery Guide, right? So now I have arthritis that was around my scoliosis, and I'm getting rid of that arthritis, right? So like, I had knee pain. I don't have knee pain anymore. So it's not just me working on my body I'm sharing with you, but all my clients that have done so tremendously, so there's so much out there that people don't know, because there's no money in healthy people. The money is in sick people. There's just no money in healthy people.
Yeah. Man, you can do a whole talk just on that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. As a nurse, you know it. Those lymph nodes are worth thousands of dollars on a little petri dish, but they're worth a lot more inside of your body, and the gallbladder, hello, once it's gone, you have to be on ox bile and different, cell salts the rest of your entire life, because the gallbladder was actually important, right? And the thyroid's actually really important. And so you don't want to ever get rid of the thyroid or the parathyroids, right? And so that's the organ renewal, not organ removal. That's what you had heard me present on. I've been presenting that for a long time. So, but it is what it is. When something's gone, it's gone. Right. Thank God there's wonderful nutrients out there that we can use to supplement. But I'm always like, you look at the car, you look at your car engine. Next time you look at a beautiful new car, open the hood up and look at it and go, which part can I pull out? I kind of highly doubt that the designer of the car is thinking you should take a part out, because they put there on purpose. And like, why are we thinking that the designer of our body gave you parts that you don't need? You actually need them all. And so, yeah, I guess you can take the air filter out of the car, but we're going to have to do some drastic measures, because we actually needed the air filter, or the fuel pump. So I think that's kind of where I go back to the 10 basics, with movement and water and sleep and emotions and detoxing and the things that are most important. So.
Yeah. Amazing. I loved how we just went all over. So great. Super great. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Anything else that you want to share or say, or anything before we wrap it up?
No, I thought you'd be asking more questions, so I'm sorry if I talked too much.
Oh, no, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
I think that as a mom, we should look at our children and just remember that you just came first. You're actually not the boss, and that are those little bundles of cells that come out of us as these amazing children, right? These souls that are brought to earth through our bodies are significant and very important human beings. And I think far too often we dismiss that. Life is really a gift. And when we take advantage of it, or we abuse it in any way or any form, it said a lot about who we are. And then I really want to give a shout out to people who are being abused, or people who have taken their boundaries down because they don't believe that they're valuable or valuable enough. And that's when we really need to start coming on our Monday night calls and start really researching how you function and how your body works. And you will realize that you are enough, and you do have the capability of making major changes. I think a lot of people get discouraged, and there's just, you'll be discouraged. But the biggest takeaway that I've ever taught is you are who you hang out with, and you are the music you listen to, and you are the food you consume and that gets absorbed, and you are what you're watching on TV, and you are what you are watching and following on social media. So if you want to be better, you have to change the vibration literally of the foods you eat, the people you hang out with, what you watch, what you listen to, and what you put in, because whatever you're putting in is coming out. And so if we're putting in all good, we're going to have a lot of good coming out. But if we're putting in a lot of negativity, we're never going to get healthy, because we'll be at this low frequency for a long, long time. And every single thing is frequency. So in order to become better and help others, we need to raise the bar of everything around us. And if that means putting sprouts on your salad to start with, great, eat more salad and put sprouts on it, or drink some Ayurvedic tea, or, do something. But as you increase the vitality of your life, you will find that everything in your life will shift. It's amazing. It's very real and very possible.
Man, that was a great segment right there. That was beautiful. Yeah. Oh, and every time I do these talks, these podcast episodes, I feel like I could just go on for hours. Like I would love to just go so many more places, but usually episodes are like 45 minutes to an hour. So it's like, unless you're Joe Rogan, where your episodes are 3 hours,
Yep.
But who, so yeah, as much as I would love to just like keep going and dive into so much more, like you've given us so much here to go off of. So, and that last little segment too was just beautiful. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yes. And this is just like the preview of what people can get from you. They can go to all these resources that I will put in the show notes, and they can find you on social media as well. You're on there as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just started a new page. It's Everything Zuzu. So you'll be able to find everything in one place instead of all the different businesses. So
yeah, that's awesome. All right, perfect. And we'll put all that in the notes so they can get more Karen, because yeah,
we'd love to have them.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm gonna have to jump on these calls, because I do miss being in your energy and in just the space of wellness and healing. It's just a beautiful space. So
you'll love them. They're amazing people. We have a full great team, so they'd love to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you loved listening as much as I loved recording. Each and every conversation that I have here on this podcast just lights my soul on fire. I love having conversations where we explore and challenge our ways of thinking. So if you've resonated with anything here and you're looking for more, please connect with me on Facebook in my Soul Deep community group, which is free. I'm also offering all my listeners a free month in my Soul Deep Connection membership. I have poured my heart and soul into this membership, bringing you resources to help you grow into the best and truest version of yourself. I've used my knowledge and experience as a nurse, combined with my knowledge and experience as a coach, breathwork facilitator, and somatic embodiment guide. This library consists of breathwork, kriyas, and other resources and modalities that will help you learn about and give you the healing tools to live the life you've been dreaming about, and to help you find your true passion and zest for life again. This library of resources is vital for everyday maintenance. And on top of the library of resources, there are live monthly calls, ranging from breathwork, kundalini, full moon or new moon circles, as well as guest speakers on a variety of different topics, from decluttering to marketing to sisterhood and all things healing and wellness. So make sure you join today to get you back on track to living that thriving life that you are longing for. Remember, the first month is free, and my hope is that you find so much value that staying is an absolute no-brainer. It really is everything that I was looking for as I started my journey, and so much more. I truly hope to see you inside my community. And if you haven't yet, please follow me here and on social. Like and subscribe, and make sure to share your favorite episode with your friends and community. And when you do, make sure to tag me in that post. If you tag me, you'll be entered into a drawing for that month, where you can win a free one-to-one session, breathwork or coaching session with me. All the links will be in the show notes here below. Until next time, Soul Deep fam, and in the words of my dear friend Mary Lacey Banks, I'm holding you so tight in a thought hug.